Hello, welcome to Boardgame Basecoats, and today we are unboxing dragongyas. I feel like it should be Dragon Gears, but dragongyas it is. And as you can see, this is a massive, massive box. Don't mind my knife. So this popped up on my Amazon recommendations, and the price was a little bit high for what I like to pay for board games. Clocking it at about $170. Now that price did eventually go down, but this really intrigued me. So I know ArclightGames, they localize a lot of foreign games, but they teamed up with maxfactory. So let's go ahead and take a look at some stuff. So first of all, here's what I paid for the game, about $130, almost $140. Now ArcLight localizes games, so here's Massive Darkness. Less figs, so a little bit less price, but comparable. And here, some maxfactory examples. So maxfactory, I mean, their models, $50, hundreds of dollars. So, I was very curious to see what these two companies could bring to the table. And look at that, very nice. So, first of all, we've got the minis. So what maxfactory has done here is made two boxes, so one for each faction. Now this is something I'm thinking for the future that they may want to do. So sell the box individually first of all, but for new armies or expansions to army, I think this would be a great way to do it. Look at the sprues, and look at that, individually wrapped as well. Yes, so to protect them. Now I've linked in the description an interview between ArclightGames and maxfactory, and they're talking about the development, and they're talking about board games in Japan and that development, and they talk about Warhammer quite a bit, and so it's really interesting to see these sprues, because look at that. So it really does kind of remind me of Warhammer sprues, but that said, is very definitely Japanese models, because if you've made Gundam models before, so these really do kind of remind me of them. And if you look at these, I don't flip them over, and I really should have, but these are kind of like plates. They're like they'll make like hollow figures. They're not like solid chunks of plastic. So I think it's really cool how they've combined how they normally do things and achieved this look to these models. All right. Now the total number of models on the sprues are 7 drakes. All right. So these are the 7 little minions, and then 1 gigantic big dragon. All right. So this same number will be mimicked in the other box, but for now, if maxfactory and ArcLight really do want to kind of follow in the footsteps of how Games Workshop has released, I really think that they should start thinking about releasing their story for this world and releasing more models for the world. So even if they release these models separately, I think that would be an awesome idea, because the game as it is really screams for, I want to do a little more customization as far as the models that I field. Wouldn't it be cool to have, more of this model or more of that model? So I really think there is an opportunity here for them to keep this board game style and kind of follow that model where it will be supported by people that like making models and like playing the game. Now I kind of skipped over it there, but each of those models pretty much does have a scenic base built in. So whether they're trees or rocks, or in the case of the big guy, a castle. This thing was a mystery to me as I unboxed it. I did get a peek of it in the rules. It's some sort of marker that you'll latch onto those gigantic hex bases. As for these little bases, these are about 28 mil, and this gigantic base looks pretty featureless, but it's featureless because the details are already built into the models. So it kind of reminds me of the Space Hulk reissue, where the figures were made for purpose, and they had elements of the Hulk built in. By the way, this art is awesome. So the art style for the game was so attractive for me. It really reminded me of the old original Final Fantasy Tactics art, which was a nice departure from the normal Final Fantasy. And it seems like there's kind of a little touch of what is it? The Attack on Titan. Not the gross big things, but the people that were on the zip lines shooting around. Anyway, here we are in box B. This is the Gyas army with the knights, and that's knights with an N. Yes, all right. Anyway, I opened up the robot first because I loved this robot. Look at that gigantic sword. Here and here is the scenic base. And yeah, all kinds of awesome. Now on most Gundam models, there's a lot of movement, a lot of posability. So I wonder if this model also has a bit of posability as well. All right. So one thing though that I think was a missed opportunity here was transfer sheets. Yeah, because especially the big model, the big robot guy, he's supposed to have some kind of runes or kanji or something all over some cloth, and I didn't get a good look at it here, but I don't think that detail is embossed on. So yeah, definitely some room for some transfer sheets. I hope that is a direction that they do go in the future. And yeah, check out that detail. If that's not a chocobo, I don't know what is. So anyway, I do recommend to you guys watching the interview. It is captioned in English, so there's lots of good stuff there about how they talk about the world and the stories behind it. And I do believe that there are a few doubles, and so again, there is that customization of your army option that is there. All right. Anyway, forgot about that one. So again, the base looks featureless, but yeah, that's because the features are built into the models. All right. So I don't mean to bang on about it, but I do hope that they support the game. And they talked about releasing anime or manga, and that'd be great. But I do hope they release just more models for this. So I hope that, I've gotten this, of course, the day of. But I hope it pays off for them and a couple other people support their game. All right, here's an insert just to hold the game box itself firm. Now this box really is the entire game right in here. So there are standees in here and all that good stuff, and there it is, that nice art again. This is box G. Alrighty, so it would be interesting for them to release this separately. So to see the collaboration that they had to put this together is really kind of awesome. All right, moving on. We've got some miniature assembly instructions here. And yeah, looks nice. They talk about the sprues separately, and here's our assembly. So it looks like just some clever snap fit kind of things for some of it. I imagine you would need glues for the other. Alright, seems pretty clear. Yeah, I'm kind of worried about the drakes and the dragon. I'm almost worried that it'd be too fragile. It's so pointy. Anyway, rule book, and of course, I'm sure you've noticed by now, it's all in Japanese. Now, ooh, look at that art. I would love to have a lot of this art on my wall. Now, usually I don't do this, but I'll go ahead and tell you, at least on these titles, what's on each page. Obviously, this is the components page. We got some basic information and the content description. So they actually go into every little component and talk about it. And this is a two-player game. Now, if you look down at the bottom right, there's like this these boards, because you do set up the game separately, or kind of hidden at the beginning initially, and then you'll set that board aside and actually use it as part of the game. It also includes a lot of solo play, and then a 3 and 4 player variant. Okay, now the solo play rules are quite robust. Holy mackerel. I think they're even longer than the 2-player rules. Here on the right is a control card list, and here the Drake behavior management table for solo play. And ooh, punch board. They knew me. I love my punch boards. All right, so comparatively, this is a very thick punch board, and with some very heavy components. Now here at the bottom, these are weaknesses. Basically, the gigantic robot, hex gear, and the dragon itself. You have to find the weakness if you want your little guys to even touch them. Now, if you look, those numbers are the same because functionally, the figures on both sides of the table do the same thing. Now, if you actually look at the colors of the knights, yeah, they're obviously in a kind of uniform. Whereas if you look at the colors of the drakes, they're all different. And so I think it would be much easier to figure out the functions of the drakes than it would be to figure out the functions of the knights at a glance. So what I plan to do is paint the bases based on their function. So if we have a healer on the drakes, then the healer on the knights is going to have the exact same color base. All right, so because ultimately these are playing pieces, and at a glance, I just want to, I want to know what they do. All right, so that's my workaround there. All right, so look at that. So these standees look awesome, and I'm going to use them as a paint guide, of course, to paint up my armies there. All right, so again, these are the knights with an N, not a K-N. And I really do appreciate that they're actually different shapes. I'm not just blobs there with a picture. So that is kind of cool. I love it when standees are shaped. So I think that's a nice bonus. Now, regardless of whether they're huge or normal size there, they're all going to use the same size plastic standee things. And these bases, for the big guys, see there's a hole in the middle? So the normal size standee will still fit right through there. All right, so there we go. Got a little bit of punchboard action. So awesome. Here, of course, are the plastic stands for the standees. Pretty standard stuff, not a big deal. That said, it's looking like there's no storage in the box for the figures with the standees on. Here, of course, is the board. There's tons of detail on here. It looks great. Now, the cool thing is it doesn't really detract from the gameplay. So as I open this up, you'll see there's like this hex around hex gameplay. Here on the right side, of course, is where your team that you build will go. So, I mean, how cool is this for modularity? Come on, guys, expansions. But anyway, this hex around hex system that the game has, I think, is another cool thing. Here's the no man's land where you put the screens up so you can't quite see what the other player is doing. So very cool. Definitely some nice touches to the gameplay that I've never seen before. These are called summary screens. My only complaint about them is I think they're not tall enough. That is to say, not wide enough. Now, you see here 1, 2, 3. That's because the big guys are programmable. You see here 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the round progression, and as you can see, each side has their own board. Yeah, I just love that they have customized everything for each team. It's just nice. They'll play essentially the same, but they look differently. Got some bags here. Makes some people happy. I usually use plastic containers for everything, so not a big deal. Now these cubes are heavy. Now these are solid. You're going to use these to mark figures that have taken their action. These small little guys have taken their action. And some of the little guys have more than 1 hit point, so you need the black cubes to keep track of that. Now the big guys get these discs. So the blue ones are hit points, and the red ones mark some kind of soul. And that's only for hex Gyas. So if I read correctly, of course, if you lose all your hit points, you lose. But hex Gyas seems to have another lose condition, so if he loses his souls, those little 3 soul discs, he loses also. And here we've got some big cards. All right, ooh, look at that. In the interview, they talk about gaming development in Japan. They talk about games in the West. And it's funny to see that they pulled this influence, I think, from the West. This multiple card sizes. So this game has 3 card sizes. Prepare yourself, folks. Ooh, and look, there's English on these cards. All right, check it out. Now it says right here it's for solo play only, and ooh, yeah, it's these. Yikes. Yeah, that's incentive for me not to do solo play. Not that I would anyway. But yeah, it looks like there's a ton of info. I have no idea how these cards are used. Look at all that. Whoa. Like if you're like me, you're looking more to the bottom left at these hexes, and yep, they are different. All right, so whatever their significance, it's for someone else to discover. Moving on. These are the Grand Dragon stats. Now, this is also supposed to be for solo play. Now, look at this. It looks like that these are variations. Look at the different color schemes for the dragon itself. Now, I'm thinking if I look into this enough, maybe that's something I can actually use in the 2-player game. Very nice. Anyway, here are the standard size cards. And it seems to me that, again, they really can explore this whole modularity thing and expanding the world, but still keep it to a board game, a one-on-one board game. Anyway, let's go check out these cards. Let's look at these weird ones first. So these are the setup cards, and these are also for solo play. All right, so obviously we got the dragon on one side and the Gyas on the other. All right, and I believe in the solo play you have no choice. You are always Gyas. Anyway, these are the cards. What was it? The control cards. If you look in the top left, there are chevrons. So both players, both sides, do simultaneous reveals, I think. And the more chevrons you have, the faster your card. And of course, there's effects on hexes and some other things. And obviously, there's a little bit of text here I've got to read, but it seems manageable. I'm okay with this. Moving on, here's the Gyas control cards. And just like the dragon, has the chevrons there to indicate speed, and the hexes there to indicate areas and all that good stuff. Now, one of the cool things is they have their own graphic design, so even though they both have chevrons, the style is different. And look at the arts. There's so much unique art. I'd love a lot of this art just separate from the game. Just looks awesome, especially especially the Gyas. Love it. Great art. Moving on, tiny cards. Yep, I told you. So I think they definitely got this from the West. And me, since I sleeve everything, oh yeah. Definitely in my, I wouldn't call it a comfort zone, but anyway, I'm used to this. Alright, so I have to dig in my collection to get these sleeved. Anyway, the tiny cards here, these also have a couple different card backs, so we'll go ahead and separate all those first. And here, these are for the 3 and 4 player variants. Alright, so again, it's so interesting that they included this option. Well, look at the text. Yeah, this is, again, much like the solo play, something that the amount of text would scare me, the foreign player, away from playing at least the original Japanese here. Maybe I'll translate this at some point, or maybe someone already has and posted it somewhere. I'll check it out. So, anyway, let's go ahead and check out the 3 and 4 player Gyas cards. I just love saying Gyas. And yeah, just like the dragon, plenty of text here to indicate. So it's kind of weird. I'm wondering how this would actually work. Do you shuffle these out and each player gets a couple? And so in your hand, you have to have that card. And because I don't have it, you must have it. So come on, do the thing. Curious to see how that would go. Here are the initiative cards. Now these are not fancy. So the dragon player has the odd numbers. The Gyas player has the even numbers. The higher the number, the faster your initiative. Now it's the initiative rules that really struck me as probably the most complex. So how it works is you take the difference And based on the difference, the knights and the drakes will have a certain number of actions based on those. Yeah, because the big guys, whoever got the bigger just goes. But it's the little guys, and it seemed like this little, it's almost like this little bit of math or something, because I don't recall seeing a chart in the rule book. But anyway, yeah, I feel like that would definitely be the trick for me. And as you see here, I'm just putting everything away and realizing, yeah, there is no space really for the punch outs. Now there actually is. See the bottom left? There's a little empty box there. It's not quite deep enough to accommodate the standees with the stands, so they'd have to be removed. So yeah, the insert within box G there will be going away as well. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and take the standees and kind of slot them in here on the insert that's holding the box. All right, and that pretty much wraps up everything here. Again, so I really like this collaboration between ArcLight and maxfactory. I think it's very cool that they went ahead and tried this. I certainly hope it does take off for them. I certainly would look forward to any other expansions, and I do hope that they do continue to support it, because it is a new thing for them, and I do believe that yeah, Japan does need to develop in this way. So much great talent here. All right. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I do appreciate it. Bye.